What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today is again one of my all-time favorites to film, and that is none other than the December reading wrap-up. Now, I do realize this is getting posted a little bit later than I normally would, and it was only because I decided to do the Christmas hauls first since we were coming right off of New Year's. But I'm very excited to share the books that I was able to get through this December. If you guys are interested in watching this video and you like all things books, then definitely stick around. It's reading time here at JB's Corner. There are quite a few books to get through this month. I believe we have a total of 13 books that I ended up reading. There were a few books that made the list originally in November that were not read. There were books that were shuffled. All kinds of things happened, but this was the final list of books that were in fact consumed for the month of December. The books that did not quite make it for the books that I ended up reading this month will be repurposed and still read at some point during the year or at the end of next year. End of this year. I can't believe it's already January. Crazy in my mind. So very, very excited for that. In case you were wondering if it's after Christmas, why is my Christmas tree up? I love the winter holidays. So for me, this stays up through the end of winter, which winter to me starts end of November and goes all the way through February. So these will all stay up till end of February, most likely. I think it just adds a little bit of cheer and joy in the home, even though it drives my cats and my husband insane, brings me great joy. So we just leave everything up. That being said, you'll probably see everything in the background for the next few months before everything is reset for the February time period. But without further ado, let's jump into the books themselves. Also, I didn't actually introduce myself. My name is Jaya, and in this little corner of the internet, I'd like to talk all things books. I have a crazy fiction addiction. The only time that I switch genres from fiction is really in January, where I tend to read a few memoirs, a few educational books, things like that. But for the most part, we really tend to stick with fiction on this channel, but all different genres of fiction. So if that sounds like something that you may enjoy, you're definitely in the right place. And I would love to see you back. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. It is an absolute joy to be able to create this community and talk all things books with everyone. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. These books are going to be talked about in no particular order. It's just a stack of books sitting next to me, so I'm just going to rush through them. Not rush through them, but run through them in order. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Murder at Holly House by Denzil Meyrick. This one is a very interesting novel that is basically set back in 1952. So we're coming out of the war with Hitler. Freedoms have just been reestablished, and Christmas is fast approaching in the village. And in the house of Holly, we find that there is a murder that has occurred. Our inspector, Mr. Frank, has been sent out to basically figure out what's going on within the town. And he also has a habit of bad luck following him. So imagine a little bit of Inspector Clouseau, but not complete and total l'imbecile. He actually has a little bit of brain power and intelligence to him, but he just finds himself, unfortunately, in situations that don't really speak to his prowess. So as is expected, things are not going quite as planned. He shows up to basically figure out what's going on with this murder that has occurred, and then all of a sudden the village doctor also turns up dead, and now he starts to realize there's a lot more afoot than he thinks. Other main key players in this book, we see a character named Dee Dee, who is a young American intern who has basically come to England as well and has been paired up with Frank Graspy to basically look into what's going on. We have other police characters that play a role in this book. Lots of interesting characters. The main character's relationship with everyone in the village, as well as with his own family and the other inspectors, is also very interesting to read. Kind of has like lots of things stacked up against him, but you kind of move along through the book with him as he figures out what's going on, and he tries to foil the plans of the devious characters that are also in play. You also quickly realize that there's a lot more to this story than what it originally seems. There's a lot of characters that are kind of double agents or double roles and things like that. So it's a fun read. It has lots of twists. It has lots of turns. One thing I will say is I ended up doing a physical read of this book and listening to the audiobook. The audiobook narration for this was a male British author, so it was very difficult for me to listen to it at my usual speed. But I do think it really helped with immersing into the book. The other thing that I will say is I did enjoy the actual storyline, but there was very little Christmas in this book. So I know it's supposed to be set during Christmas, and I was hoping for a little bit of that vibe. You do hear about the snow and the winter and all that kind of stuff, but you don't really get Christmas vibes in this book. So that took a little way from this book for me. But overall, I ended up giving this book a 3-star rating. I don't think it's something to necessarily write home about, but I also think it's a fun, entertaining book. So if someone were to ask me, is it worth picking up? I would say, it's fun, it's enjoyable. It's probably like a nice break if you want something a little bit more serious in your collection of books, especially around the holiday time. And it is a fun mystery. So if that sounds like something up your alley, definitely pick it up. But I do think there's other books that I would probably recommend first before this one. And that's kind of where I landed on this book. So solid 3-star read for Murder at Holly House. The next book that I finally got to is Our Infinite Fates. This book is written by Laura Stephen, and it was amazing. I really enjoyed this novel. Basically, the story follows the plot line that there is a young woman who is in love with this man who, or man/woman, they actually change genders in their journey throughout eons and eons of life. And basically, every single time she's about to turn 18, our main character, and this is a female at this point, she gets murdered. And she gets murdered by someone that she's in love with. And every single life, they have new parents, new family dynamics, new history, but some of their memories remain. Throughout the course of the story, we find that she is basically trying to figure out why he keeps wanting to kill her, and basically tries to understand, sorry, this was choking me, what's going on with the different family lives and situations. You also get flashbacks to previous stories and histories that these characters have gone through. And you also finally understand at the end of the book why things are the way they are. There is a little bit of supernatural associated with this book as well. But overall, it was a fascinating book. The concept, the thought that was put into this book, I think was absolutely phenomenal. I think the characters are very, very well written. I think the fact that it's such strong enemies to lovers and it spans lifetimes was very fascinating to read as well. And I think overall this was a great book to pick up and read. I ended up giving this book a solid 4.5 stars. The only thing is it's hard to talk too much about this book without giving too much away. But in the present time of the book, the main character is basically trying to push to be allowed to live past 18 with the man that has been consistently hunting her, because she really wants to be able to provide bone marrow to save her younger sister in her current life, who is hospital bound and bed bound. And they kind of go back and forth on that whole situation. It was very cute. It was a very interesting book. I definitely enjoyed it. And I love the fact that the author was able to pack so much into this book, with it being a standalone novel in all senses. And so I absolutely adored this book. I definitely think it's worth picking up and reading. It was very unique, very fun, very entertaining. And I think the vibes of the book was also perfect for the fall winter season. What to say about this book? I absolutely adore BK Borison. I think her writing style is so much fun and it's so fascinating. I love the romances in her book. You are going to get a little bit of spice in her books, but it's very well placed, and the characters have to develop a lot of banter, a lot of characterization, a lot of relationship that they go through before they get to that point. So you're really rooting for your characters, and the storylines themselves, it's a breath of fresh air to read her writing, in my humble opinion. I'm not saying the stories are super unique or anything like that. They are very predictable, but I just love this author's way of writing. It's beautiful. And so because I enjoy her prose so much, and because she was able to tie Christmas into this book and the romance was so cute, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. The hints about mistletoe, the Christmas trees, the stockings, the vibes of Ghosts of Christmas Past, absolutely wonderful. Let me actually talk about the book, because I realized I didn't give you any premise on what this book is actually about. Good Spirits is basically a paranormal romance where we are following the story of our main character, whose name I'm blanking on now. It starts with an H. Harriet. There we go. Harriet York is basically a very happy young woman who is currently managing her late aunt's antique shop and is kind of estranged from her mother and her own family. She consistently feels like she wants to help everybody else, but she is very lonely, she is very sad, and she is just trying to get through the Christmas season with a smile on her face. Meanwhile, Nolan is a spirit of Christmas past, and so he has basically shown up in a classic Scrooge kind of retelling where he is meant to be Harriet's spirit guide and basically get her to a point where she can fix her Christmas mistakes of the past so she can be passed on to the next ghost so that she can escape the dangers of what may happen should she not change the way she's living her life currently. The only thing is both Nolan and Harriet are very confused as to why she's been selected because she's not a very Scroogey kind of character. In fact, she's actually quite the opposite. So throughout the course of the novel, we also realize that maybe Harriet is actually supposed to help Nolan move on. It's a very interesting premises. It's a very beautiful storyline. We get a little bit of past history of both of the characters. We see them develop a bond through both present time and past. And we also get to see the characters' dynamics with the relationships that are currently present in Harriet's life as well. And we see Nolan kind of tackle a lot of different things in his own past and his own life and his own experiences as he realizes why Harriet was assigned to him in the first place. Overall, I think this was a great book. I really, really enjoyed it. I love B.K. Borison's writing. Solid 4-star rating from me. Our book club book for this month through the Overbooked Book Club, which is currently being run on Facebook. It is an absolutely wonderful group. We basically vote on a book once a month, and then we end up discussing that book usually around the end of the year. This year for December, we ended up picking The Rewind, which I think was very appropriate for the season. This book is basically talking about two characters that used to be in love, that dated for years and then ended up breaking up at the end of college. And we get the story told from the perspective of both characters, and you get flashbacks to present and past throughout the course of the novel. Basically, the two characters have returned back to their campus ground in order to celebrate their friends who are getting married. Now, in the process of doing this, they also unintentionally have to work together because they are paired together in a group for a scavenger hunt. However, the next morning when they wake up, they have no recollection of what happened. They wake up in a dorm room that is not theirs or assigned to them out of the blue and don't know what the heck is going on. The characters then go on a journey where they basically try to figure out how the situation they're in happened while simultaneously having to deal with feelings that are unresolved between the two characters. Now, in the midst of all of this, our main male character, Ezra, is also planning on proposing to his current girlfriend, and he starts realizing that a lot of repetitive behavior is present in both relationships. And Frankie, who was his first love and also the woman that he just can't forget, but also broke his heart, is now back in the picture, and she's absolutely insane and crazy. And so she just pulls his she pushes his buttons very strongly. So the two of them kind of being forced into equal proximity and dealing with their demons was very, very cute to see. I do think overall this book was very precious. It was really nice to see both characters' development as a whole, as well as their understanding of their own personal relationships and the romance that starts to grow between the two of them again, as can be expected. This is a second chance romance book / enemies to lovers kind of vibe, and I absolutely loved the premises of this book. And I actually ended up enjoying the book quite a bit too. It went by pretty quickly. It was a fast, fun-paced read. It's set around like a wintry time. You have snow out on the campus and everything is covered. It's during winter break. It's like very apropos for the holiday season. So I definitely would recommend The Rewind for the holiday season or winter season in general. I think it was a very fun, easy, fast-paced read, and I ended up giving it a 4-star. The next set of books actually are novellas that are set in the same town known as Strawberry Hollow. They are essentially Hallmark movies in a book form with spice. So if you're looking for that kind of vibe, you're going to get it with Maren Moore's books with the Strawberry Hollow series. It is literally like reading a Hallmark movie, but with spice. That's what you're going to get from these books. Very, very, very heavy on Christmas, very, very heavy on the holiday vibes, very, very heavy on the small town setting and the quirky side characters. And the romance between the two characters is also very entertaining. We have a total of 3 books in this series, and I actually did a separate video discussing the Strawberry Hollow series in particular. I'll also attach that at the end of this video in case you guys are interested in more detail. But in the 3 different books, the first book, which is The Mistletoe Bet, is essentially a kind of second chance romance or like best friend of the older brother romance vibes. We have Quinn, who's our main character, who comes back to Strawberry Hollow, and she meets up with Grant again, who is her brother's best friend, who's older than her. And she's kind of a Scrooge, doesn't really believe in Christmas. He loves Christmas, and they basically form a bet to say that if he can convince her to love Christmas within 5 days, that she has to be an elf in her mother's play. And that's basically the vibes of the first book. The second book is The Festive Feud. This one is an enemies to lovers book. We have 2 feuding families. Think Romeo and Juliet vibes, but just not tragic. And that's kind of the vibes of this book, as 2 characters whose families hate each other and who have been told to hate each other their whole life are forced to plan a joint Christmas party against their family's wishes because the town is just sick of the feud and they want it to go away. This one is a true second chance romance. It is about our main female character who is a teacher, and she has a little girl who joins her class who's daughter to a single dad. And when she meets the single dad, she realizes that it's her old flame, the one that got away, who was returned back into town. And it's the 2 of them kind of rekindling that relationship as the little girl really wants to win the Christmas list competition in Strawberry Hollow. So the 3 of them end up on a team, and not mom and dad, but dad and old flame basically have a chance to re-find their relationship. The little girl in this book is really cute. The competition is kind of fun to see. Again, very Christmas heavy, very Hallmark. I would say all 3 of these books are exactly what you expect them to be. Solid 3-star reads. They're very fun for the holiday, festive Christmas season. Is it amazing writing? No. Is it like crazy plot lines that you're not going to be able to guess from page 1? No. But is it a fun, pleasant holiday read if you walk into it knowing exactly what you're going to get? Absolutely. Continuing with the realm of spice, but great writing and very Christmassy, Megan Quinn came out with the second book in the Christmas series, and this is following the story of the best friend who was Max, Atlas Max to be exact, and his love interest, who is the lovely Betty. Now, this book, in my humble opinion, was perfect. It was everything I was looking for in a Christmas romance crazy book. We have 2 characters who are basically expecting to be enemies. One of the main character basically has a Christmas farm that has been in his family for generations, and he will be taking over the Christmas farm, so he's very vigilant. He's also overly dramatic and absolutely hilarious in the best possible way. Then we have Betty, who shows up, who's also overly imaginative and has word vomit diarrhea, and is also absolutely hilarious. Her entire confidence has been broken down because she just failed at a shop that she was trying to establish, and now she's in town. And her uncle Dwight, who believes in her, basically says, hey, I have this piece of land and I don't know what to do with it, and I really would like to start a Christmas farm. I want you to head up the business. I have faith in you. And so now she's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden she realized there's a rivalry that's happening that she was not even aware of. Their meet cute in this book was absolutely adorable. The overall vibes of this book is so fun and enjoyable. The Christmas in this book is absolutely delicious. And the best part of this book is it has a narrator. So you're literally going through this book with a narrator who is hilarious as well. I would strongly recommend reading both this book, and then if you are interested, My Neighbor Who Stole Christmas was the first book in this series. read them with the audio as well, because the audio is delicious. It's just done so well. It's done with a cast of characters. So you have a male reader for Max, you have a female reader for Betty, and then you also have a reader for the narrator. It's just fun. It's a fun, quirky cast. It's very enjoyable. And I can honestly say this was probably one of my favorite reads of Christmas. It got me giggling, got me laughing. I really had fun with it. Is it something that you're going to think about for the rest of your life? No. Is it something you're going to write home about? No. Is it a classic in any way, shape, or form? No. But if you want a Christmas classic, just fun romance book, this is your book. This was a solid 4.5 star for me. I absolutely adored this book, and I definitely see myself reading more Megan Quinn in the future. I actually have 2 other series by her on my physical TBR that I do need to get to, that I'm hoping to read this year. But I can honestly say I have thoroughly enjoyed both The Neighbor Who Stole Christmas as well as Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal so much. Would recommend. The next 2 books that I want to talk about are actually part of a series, and I will be doing a series review for these books. I'm not going to give too much detail on them, but it's none other than Holiday Romance and Snowed In by Catherine Walsh. This is basically following 2 brothers from the Fitzpatrick family. So we have Andrew in the first one, and then in the second one we have Christian. Christian basically had to leave home to become successful and, find his way on his own. And it's great, except for the fact that he's still miserable and he can't find a relationship that will stick. We also have our fun, quirky main female character in Snowed In. Her name is Megan. She is basically just trying to survive after running out on her wedding 4 or 5 years ago. And now both of them have known each other since childhood, and they happen to bump into each other where they're living in Dublin. And they realize that if they play their cards right, they could do a fake relationship to basically trip up their whole family and make the return back to their hometown that much easier. In Megan's case, she just wants to be able to save face in town, because when she left her fiance at the altar, everyone assumes the worst of her, and she's burnt some bridges that she just wants to fix. And she needs a date for the Christmas party that her mom likes to throw. In Christian's case, he just needs someone to make him feel evened up as he goes home, because everyone else in the family is paired up except for him. And he feels like he and his dad have a very tense relationship. His mom is constantly worried that he's not happy enough. He just wants to be able to survive the Fitzpatrick Christmas with someone at his side. Great book. I enjoyed this book so much. Fake dating trope. Really, really loved this book. 1 or 2 spicy scenes in this book that happen at the end of the book after the characters have had some time to really establish a relationship and a friendship. So I definitely enjoyed this book. I would give it a solid 4 stars. I loved this book. Holiday Romance, I'm obsessed with. This was a 5-star read for me. I had never heard of Catherine Walsh before. I picked up this book on the spur of the moment because I just liked the vibes of the book and the cover, and I fell in love with her writing and this book. We are basically following the story of Andrew and Molly in Holiday Romance. This is the first one in the series, and all they want to do is get from Chicago to Ireland, which is their hometown. Every year for the past 8 years, they've ended up on the same flight. They text here and there in terms of being in the city, but they really only see each other at the airport. Their friendship is one that is one for the ages, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a position where they're at the airport and all the flights that they are supposed to be taking have been canceled. And now Molly is convinced that no matter what, she's going to make sure that Andrew gets home, because she knows how much the Fitzpatrick clan loves Christmas. Molly's family, on the other hand, is not super into Christmas, but her sister is pregnant and her parents are expecting her to be home. So she also begrudgingly was like, I'll get home. But everything in this book is about her trying to help Andrew get home. And the two of them realizing that despite the fact that they've been friends their entire life and they haven't really found a reason to explore romance, they're now thrust into an environment where questions about that starts popping up, and they have to figure out how to deal with their romance. Best book for Christmas that I've read this year so far. I absolutely loved this book. Solid 5-star read. And I happened to forget to mention that in Snowed In, you also get a little bit more of Molly and Andrew, which was so much fun. So absolutely adored this book. I will definitely be doing a more in-depth reveal of this book and the storyline for both of the books when I do the series review. So if you are interested in learning more about these 2 books, as well as the storyline, the plots, the vibes, definitely check out that video when it comes out. Apparently this year was the year of novellas for me, but I also ended up reading the Mistletoe Mystery this year by Nita Prose. This is the short story that goes with the Maid series that was written by Nita Prose. It's about a young woman who is a little bit on the spectrum, and she's very, very, very much a very kind-hearted, hardworking woman. She doesn't fully understand human transgressions or things like that, but all she wants to do is do her job well. She's in a very loving relationship. Her granny is the one who raised her. So in the first 3 main books, we basically get to see mysteries that she ends up going through, where in certain cases, like the inspectors are looking at her as the primary suspect for murders and things like that. And because of her quirky character and the way she looks at things with so much detail, she and her motley crew of characters at the hotel end up solving the mystery for the detective. So that's kind of the vibes of the overall storyline. In this book specifically, this is set during Christmas, and basically we get to see a little bit more of her and her relationship with Juan, who is her love interest, Juan Manuel to be exact. And so in this book, we kind of get to see their romance, and we get to watch the story of their Christmas together, and she has to figure out why Juan Manuel is acting a little bit strange, and it's very fun. It's very cute. I don't want to give more details than that because it'll ruin the book, but if you do decide to pick up the novella, it's very, very, very sweet. I do recommend reading The Maid first before you pick up this book. The Maid was absolutely excellent in my humble opinion. I absolutely adore that book. I also really enjoyed the second book in that series as well, and the third one is sweet and cute, but I think it's probably my least favorite of the 3. But I can honestly say any Nita Prose Maid book I will definitely be picking up, and this one was a joy to read. It was a solid 3-star read for me. It was very cute. It was very Christmassy. It was definitely the vibes, and I just loved seeing more of Molly and Juan Manuel's relationship as well. Okay, guys, we're almost there. I promise. We have 3 left, okay? 3 left. We can do this. So this one is The Mistletoe Kisser by Lucy Score. This book is part of the Blue Moon series, which I did not realize originally when I picked it up. So it is the 8th book in a series. So there's a lot of characters that are mentioned in this book that I wasn't really familiar with, but I can honestly say it's very easy to read as a standalone. It is a romance following the story of our main female character, Dr. Sammy Ames, who happens to be a veterinarian. She's very loved in her town. She loves animals. She's joyful. She's quirky. She's happy. She wants to take care of everybody. But romance has been a little tricky for her. Then we have our main male character, who is Ryan Sosa. He is kind of a grumpy accountant, but, you know, a lovable grumpy accountant who finds himself in Blue Moon against his better judgment because his uncle calls him saying that he's in trouble and his farm is about to be taken away from him. So he basically shows up to settle the accounts, and in the process, he ends up in a position where he's forced into close proximity with Sammy multiple times, and the two of them basically are forced to go through multiple different situations that brings them closer together, and it's kind of a setup situation that's happening as well. Very cute book, very enjoyable. I actually ended up enjoying this book quite a bit, even though there were certain moments of this book that I didn't quite understand who the quirky characters were in terms of the small town. But I could definitely see myself picking up more books in the Blue Moon series in the future. And I honestly feel like if you want something that's like a romance and fun and cute and just like, you know, heart lifting and just fun, Lucy Score is not going to lead you wrong. Her books do tend to be open door policy, but again, the thing that I like about Lucy Score is before you get to those spice scenes, she really does do a good job of building the characters' romance with each other and really showcasing why they're interested in each other, which I do enjoy. I will say some of the books, if you read a lot of her books, they tend to get a little bit repetitive, but I can honestly say the Knock 'Em Out series was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed this one, very cute for a Christmas book. The Christmas Fix was also really cute, which is part of the Fixer Upper series. That one was kind of fun and a little bit different. And then I also really, really love By a Thread. It was a standalone. It's absolutely excellent. Definitely recommend picking that up. It's a Grumpy Sunshine type of vibe as well. But my absolute favorite by Lucy Score is definitely the Riley Thorne series, which is about a psychic woman and an inspector who likes to bend the rules just a little bit. But it's a great, great series. Loved that series. But I definitely say that if you like you know, fun, quirky stories that are slightly predictable but have cute little romance stories and things like that, Lucy Score is not going to lead you down the wrong path. This one, though, I would say for me personally was a 3.75 stars. Not quite 4 stars, probably because I didn't know the other quirky characters. And also, it was amazing. But within Lucy Score's realm of books, I've read books I've loved more and books that I've loved less, which is why this one's kind of a 3.75. But again, I don't think you can go wrong with a Lucy Score book. We finally read it. Finally read it. This book has been on the TBR at least 2 times before. It was a gift from a friend, and this is the Eyre Affair. In this book, it's a Thursday novel series book by Jasper Fforde. In this book, we have Thursday, who is basically part of a fictional world where she's a literary detective. So in this world, literary characters can be brought to life and crazy things can happen. So they have special ops detectives and stuff like that who are in place basically to help protect literary works and literary characters from crazy things happening. In this book, Thursday is basically within the government structure of the special ops, but she is not special ops, but within ops. Sorry, one second. So last night, when that phone call came through, as you guys saw at the end of the previous portion of this video, my brother and his girlfriend had called and they decided that they wanted to drink while talking to each other over FaceTime. So my husband and I definitely partook in a little too much wine. And so I ended up deciding to redo the clips that I had filmed after that because you can definitely tell that I was not okay. That being said, feeling great this morning. Everything is totally fine. But let's pick up where we left off, which was the Eyre Affair. So in this book, we kind of talked about how there's different special op divisions and teams. And basically, it's like any other government organization where the lower you get in terms of the number of the special ops, the more secretive they are. So basically, and the more power they have. So Thursday herself is like in Division 22 or something like that. And she gets recruited by a character from Special Ops 4 to basically come and help him, track down a evil villain character who has basically been stealing important manuscripts and basically pulling out fictional characters and damaging them, which thereby ruins the book for multiple people who are reading the books and basically prevents them from appreciating the story, if you will. So she's basically hired on to find the perpetrator and essentially return these novels back to their original state. Now, throughout the course of the video, as the book continues, there are more and more people who get involved in the case, and Thursday realizes that the main evil character is actually someone that she knows. So she knows kind of sort of how he thinks, so she becomes a key player in stopping him. At the end of the book, the evil character ends up kidnapping a character from the Jane Eyre novel, and that is why this book is called The Eyre Affair, because eventually, with the efforts of Thursday as well as her team, they are able to not only save the novel and pull out the main evil character, but they are also able to change the ending in this particular case of Jane Eyre into the classic version of the fiction novel that we now know and love. And the ending is very, very sweet at the end of the day. So all's well that ends well. This book, I think, for me, was a little bit confusing at times because of the way that the novel is written. You're consistently moving from different timelines. You're moving forward in time, backwards in time. You're moving into fictional novels and reality. So there are a couple of moments in the book where you're just like, wait, what just happened? And then also there's moments of this book where I felt like it was moving very fast. And then there's moments of the book where it was moving very slow. For those reasons, I wouldn't say this was necessarily my favorite choice of book, but it was still quite excellent and I would definitely recommend it. It's very unique. It's very interesting. The premise is very cool. And it talks about a lot of literary works that are famous today. So, you know, that was kind of fun to see as well. And I also liked the dynamic of Thursday and the other characters in the book, including her own uncle and her own aunt and her parents and things like that. So I do think that this was a very interesting novel, to say the least, but I think it'll take me some time before I pick up the next book in the series. I ended up giving this book a solid 3 stars. Last but not least, the final book that we ended up reading I ended up reading for the Christmas season and the month of December was The Holiday Cottage by Sarah Morgan. This is such a sweet book. It's following the story from 3 different women's perspective. Imogen, who is a young woman who basically has no real family and she's a bit of a workaholic and she's amazing at what she does, but she ends up having a moment where things in her personal life blow up and she ends up approaching burnout. And so her boss basically forces her to take a hiatus for a month. In that process, she doesn't really know where to go. And so her favorite client, Dorothy, ends up offering her the cottage that she has in her hometown for Imogen to basically come relax, rest, and enjoy the holiday season. Sarah is Dorothy's daughter, and she is a little hesitant to allow Imogen into their lives. And she tells Dorothy as such, but she's also very loving and caring and supportive of her mother. She has 2 daughters herself, a healthy marriage, and so there's a lot of things that happen in this book. As the book progresses, you realize that there's more to the story than just these 3 individuals being like strangers of one another. And as the story progresses, Imogen kind of understands the significance of family, what it means, what a real family looks like. I think that this book was absolutely adorable. I also love the little romance that takes place in this book as well. I think the main male character in this book who is selected for Imogen is a sweetheart and he was really fun to read. He's a vet. I think the fact that there's a puppy in this book is great. I just feel like all the holiday vibes were in this book, and I think Sarah Morgan just knows how to write characters that have a range to them, which is really fun to see, and you really get to see the growth of all the characters throughout the course of the novel, which was really fun. You also get loose ends tied up by the end of the book, which was great as well. I think that this book was probably one of my favorites that I read this Christmas season, and I genuinely feel like you can't go wrong if you pick up a Sarah Morgan book for the Christmas season. I ended up giving this book a solid 4 stars. And that does bring me to the end of this video, guys. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you are new here and you love bookish content and this video was up your alley, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. I would love to have you back to talk even more things books and to be a part of the wonderful bookish community that we're creating here at J-Base Corner. For those of you that are returning, for those of you who are subscribers, I cannot thank you enough for your support, for your love, for your watches, for taking time out of your busy days to be here. It means the absolute world to me. And I'm genuinely so thankful for each and every one of you. I just wanted to leave everybody with this. Wherever you are in the world, no matter, whether it's morning, evening, or night, I hope that you are feeling safe, secure. I hope you and your loved ones are safe and secure. And I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. And I hope you got plenty of time to rest, recover, relax, and read. I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.